Fight Nation on Sirius XM.
It's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host. Back, he's producing the show. It's Andre the Giant, and our special co-host for the first hour is WWE Hall of Famer, and now calling the fights for AEW in town, sold out. It's Jim Ross. Good old JR.
Hey guys,
welcome back.
You guys are pretty caffeinated today, aren't you? You're jacked up.
We're excited.
It's always fun when you're here.
You're a Hall of Famer, for crying out loud.
You guys pass the P test right now?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Nah.
No, yeah, we have to wait 24 hours to cycle some stuff off.
Thanks for having me. I always enjoy coming by and seeing you boys.
Well, thank you. Thank you for making some time for us. Big weekend for y'all. We heard about, AEW coming and sold out quick, and I was like, well, okay. So the splash is on. Like, this organization is not playing around. I've tried to brush up on watching or listening to Busted Open. Our good friends Dave LaGreca and Bully Ray. I catch them.
Yeah, they're great.
In the car. They're on our channel.
Great show. Yeah, I listen to pretty much
I've
every
heard
day.
you on that show.
They do such a great job. And the thing about for MMA fans and pro wrestling fans, I would say that we're both lucky that we have networks like Sirius that's going to allow you to say your message, and spread the word of the genre you're following, that you love. So it's a great thing there. But they do a super job, but it's somehow, some way, these young guys at AEW have reached their audience. They have found a way to connect with their core audience and their core demographic, and they motivate that demographic to buy things more than they're going to buy a lot of things. More than just T-shirts, which I think is kind of funny that there's a little jealousy out there because the Young Bucks and Cody and Omega, those cats sell a lot of T-shirts. But there's a reason to sell T-shirts. People want to follow you. They've made an emotional investment in your TV persona. So now I'm not embarrassed to represent you with your shirt. Like I'm not embarrassed to represent my school, Oakland University, today with my fancy little thing here, I'm wearing.
That jealousy is coming from some of the old school fighters,
or
the more popular fighters that just wish they could sell as well, or
undermotivated younger guys who don't want to get off their ass and go to work and know that they are their product. They have to take control of their product and how they approach the game. So it's just and then some old guys like me, but I'm not one of them. I'm not living in the past. I can't. Why the hell would I want to live? Why would any of us want to live in the past? So I think a lot of older guys, like in my generation, well, it's not the business, and it's not this, and it's not what I grew up on. Well, what is what we grew up on? Football's not.
You're right.
MMA's not. I remember buying that first fight, that 8-man tournament.
With Hoist Gracie?
Yeah.
Ken Shamrock? Yeah. The tooth flew out in the first fight?
Yep.
What a statement, for a first fight?
What was that big black dude?
Taylor Tooley was the Samoan fella whose tooth got knocked out by a guy named Gerard Gordeau from...
Well, there was a big black guy, Yarborough.
Oh, yeah.
Manuel Yarborough.
He was a big dude.
Yeah.
So I remember things like that. It's just they were significant in that regard. So any event, I'm digressing.
And you're talking about the same company that has evolved and changed. They're not anything like they were when they first started. One more shout out to Busted Open. They do a great job, by the way. If you're listening to our show, we're an MMA show. We do have a guest from the pro wrestling world who's an MMA fan, by the way.
Yeah,
but still, catch those guys 9 a.m. Eastern Bully Ray, Mark Henry, Tommy Dreamer gets in there, Dave LaGreca, and they do a great job covering not just WWE, but all of the different organizations. They cover them all, just like we try to do an MMA Junkie, not just the UFC, but Bellator, and that's kind of what's drawn me in and allowed me to, broaden myself, because I even like New Japan on Access TV.
They respect the genre for what it is.
Yeah.
If you will accept what the product is as it is, then you're more likely to embrace it to some degree. Mm-hmm. No one on that show tries to insult your intelligence and tell you that pro wrestling's not a little bit of fiction here. Come on, wink, wink.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that they have to do a smart job, and they're broadcasting live from here in Vegas on Friday morning.
Yeah.
So that's a cool. Where was that at, Raphael? Tuscany.
Okay.
So they're going to do Mark Henry and LaGreca on your network will be rocking and rolling live at Tuscany. I'm sure I'm going to be on their show early Friday morning, so that'll be interesting. JR Early's not so great.
Are you? Well, I'm glad we're a primetime show then. JR, are you feeling the butterflies, I guess, for AEW the same way when you first started your career?
Yeah, I shot off my mouth about getting back in the game, and because there were some at WWE doubted that I could still do it, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And I think without saying it and being respectful of me, as I perceive it to be, and somebody said, well, also to avoid any potential lawsuits, which is absurd in my respect, but nonetheless I get it, that I was too old. So I don't believe that to be accurate. So we had a disagreement in that regard. I wanted to play, they wanted me to sit. And so when my contract expired at the end of March, I said, we talked to Vince, there's no sense in even talking about a renewal. I don't want to renew. And you don't want me to be on the air, so why don't we just agree to disagree and move on? It's easy. Mm-hmm. 26 great years there. Made a lot of money, had a lot of success, a lot of wonderful memories. I remember their Hall of Fame. Still wear the ring. I got it on right now, 2007 Hall of Fame class. That's a big deal to me. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to play because I could feel my life evaporating. And on the heels of my wife getting killed in March of 2017, I understood that emptiness. I was sitting in an empty house. My children are grown. They're gone. Our family cat died 4 days after my wife got killed out of a heart, just found him dead. He was 7 years old. So all these little things happened. That wasn't little, but my wife's death, the biggest thing of all. But I said, man, I gotta get back in the hunt. I gotta find life again. I gotta find energy, passion. I got it, and I don't believe that I can't do it. And I don't care what say. Well, he didn't do a great job on New Japan. I don't know that. People don't understand how hard that was, but I'm not making any excuses. I thought we did a damn good job. All I know is that when I went on there with Josh Barnett, under the guidance of Adam Swift and all those cats there, Danny Zach and everybody, Andrew Simon, we increased the ratings. I know somebody said about 20 or 30%.
Oh yeah.
We kicked ass. So we found an audience. They found an audience, and they liked our style, Josh and my style, which was not one heel, heel baby face. It's just two guys,
right,
telling stories and trying to put a fictional, dramatic presentation into an athletic context. I'm trying to say. So it was a different deal than WWE does, or WCW did, or somebody else. We were just real in that respect. So that's kind of what I hope that we're going to have on this broadcast on Saturday night on pay-per-view, and that is, the pressure's on for us all to deliver. And like I said, I've made a point to let everybody know I got a chip on my shoulder. And I'm pissed off that circumstances. I ended my career in WWE as it did. And I'm saying that not because they wronged me. They did not wrong me.
Did they wish you well?
Oh, yeah, Vince Lesnar. Yeah, he and I still communicate.
So nobody's hoping for anything but success for you,
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
But you are saying there is a chip?
Well, I put it there myself.
Gotcha.
It's almost like wrestling. All right. It's a predetermined chip. George, I thought that, I need a little extra sauce in the ribs here. Let's get this baby rolling.
Gotcha.
So I worked into this thing, as they would say, a shoot, and I got pissed off at myself for self-doubting me. It's a funny game here, man. I think this is one of those Stephen King books in my head right now. But I just really want to prove that I can still do what I was brought to the dance to do.
Double or Nothing is Saturday, May 25th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, and 1 a.m. in the British Standard Time Zone. It's live on pay-per-view, BR Live here in the United States and all major cable and satellite providers. United Kingdom, it's ITV, box office for you. Internationally, Fight TV. Go ahead, Goes.
JR, I love your energy, everything you're bringing to this, and I know you're a perfectionist in what you do. This is something new where you're dealing with new people, some people that you've worked with in the past, but how long does it take for you to develop that chemistry before this event?
Boy, I tell you, I wish I knew that because I'd feel a lot better about this right now today. There's a lot of apprehension in my side right now. And part of that is just the performer's insecurities. As a performer in a public setting like that or on TV live, there's a certain amount of angst and self-doubt that come with that. You can't cut it loose. Anybody that's a big-time performer, I don't consider myself big-time, but anybody's a performer in general that says they don't get nervous or they don't get a little apprehensive or has some stress, they're lying to you. Now, I'm sure it's at different levels for everybody concerned, but it's there. So, hell yeah, I got a little stress there, and I'm addressing it by watching more videos and reading more about these guys. But I'm excited about the challenge of it. I'm glad I put myself in a position I got to come out fighting.
We ask people all the time that come out here for events in Vegas. To sell out in Vegas is not easy to do, especially the way you guys did it. But is there something different to being in Las Vegas? The bright lights, all that, does it bring an extra energy out of you?
Well, it does for me. Yes, the answer is yes. It does. I think it does for everybody. You talk about the Ronda Rouseys of the world and the great MMA fighters. My former broadcast partner Josh Barnett. Las Vegas brings out the best in everybody. It's like Vince McMahon told me one time about New York City. New York City's got the best and the worst of everything. And I guess you might use that analogy somewhat with Las Vegas. It's got the best and the worst of everything. Mm-hmm. But the worst is the best worst. So whatever that's worth, So it's but yes, the bright lights. It's famous for the sporting events and the combat sports. And hey, look, why is this old guy comparing what we love and why I'm listening to this shit? I don't know. Combat sports to pro wrestling. Are you kidding me? I'm not comparing it. But their stage is basically the same. It's in the center of the venue. It's either square or it's an octagon. And there are a lot of common grounds here. There's usually a good guy, the fan favorite, and there's a bad guy who's the underdog or the heel. And nobody could tell me that any fight promoter that's worth a damn is not going to try to recreate and embellish on who my fan favorite is and who my villain is, because if this villain is good enough, you will pay to see him get his ass whipped. And that is the analogy of a great pro wrestling villain and has been for 100 years. Pay to see the bad guy get what's coming to him or her. In today's world, you got to say or her because that's a big part of the business of both MMA and in WWE, for example.
It's blown up, hasn't it?
Yeah,
there's a couple great women boxers as well. Clarissa Shields, a lot, that people call into the show or talk about, and especially in 2019, we saw a lot of ladies like in high-profile fights in almost consecutive weeks. Talking about Ronda and Charlotte and eventing
Ronda special.
WWE's WrestleMania. Amazing.
Yeah. I love Ronda's game, and I love her spirit. How well her debut is as good as any debut I ever saw in that genre, ever. Male or female. And to think about it, that it was done at a place where it was all the eyeballs are on you and the pressure was on. Don't think that because it's a presentation that there's not pressure. Mm-hmm. There's pressure from yourself if you're a ball player, but there's pressure in the locker room from everybody else with those eyes on you, and most of them, and you know that most of them want you to fail. Because when you don't succeed, you drop down a notch, and they can move up a notch.
They can take your time on TV.
Bingo. Yeah. So it's very, very competitive. And I would say the same thing with being in any pro sports. the backups want to play. So you take that for what it's worth, and it's just human nature. Why wouldn't you?
I would be in fear more of walking out down that ramp, grabbing the mic, and then having to connect than whatever my body was already physically trained for. I think the bigger fear would be just how that first time on the mic might go, you know. And if it doesn't go well, how can I overcome it and win them over? Because if you don't connect with the fans early, it can be rough.
MMA fighters have got to continue to perfect and to refine the art of marketing. Everybody the great thing about Conor McGregor is that you don't have any Geneva in him, meaning that there's no Switzerland. You either like the son of a bitch or you don't. I happen to like him. Mm-hmm. I like what he brings to the game because he brings attention to a genre that doesn't always get attention. But what we have to understand in the MMA world and UFC in particular, and Bellator for that matter, is that we got to start building on positive stories within the brands, and not rely on a tragedy or some sort of calamity to get our headlines for us.
Did you hear that, Goes? And that's something we've been pumping this last week. When these fighters win, when they're interviewed afterwards, there's some that just drop the ball, and I just shake my head, because I feel like our sport can learn from your sport a lot of things, and we have. And one of the ways is connecting with the fans, and marketing themselves better. Like you said, you can only walk a certain amount of times in our sport. If a fighter has 20 fights in the UFC, we're like, wow, you've had one hell of a career. That's usually about 10 years, and you're not going to come back all the times as a winner.
Right.
And there's times when you win, it's a decision, and you don't even get the mic time because they got to roll to the next fight. Mm-hmm. So you got to maximize those times.
I say maximize your minutes in my podcast every week. Maximize your minutes. The young wrestling talent, they ask for advice. I said, maximize your minutes. That holds true in every walk of life. Yeah. Every walk of life, guys.
All right. We got Jim Ross here in studio. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll keep talking about AEW, a little bit more Ronda talk, and, of course, we got to ask him about the big guy, Brock Lesnar. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Champions, Hall of Famers, legends.
excellence and excitement in your Vitamix. Add ice, and you get MMA Junkie Radio.
Here, playoff contenders battle tonight on MLB Network Radio as the Chicago Cubs take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Catch the live play-by-play right now on Sirius 209 XM89 and streaming on your phone, and at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. Can't wait till football season.
I'm ready.
I'm getting fired up. I saw the NFL draft, a few days ago, and some of the free agent moves.
It's coming here, the draft.
Yeah,
I can't wait
it's going to be here in Vegas next
year.
year.
That's big time, man.
Yeah.
That's big for the city, and it's a TV event now. It's a major television event. That's a multiple-day live event, and that's where it gets back to AEW. Nice little segue here, is that live content is king.
Yes.
And the AEW going on TNT in October, a day to be determined. I'm assuming it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday. Don't know that for sure, but nonetheless, it'll be live every week. No net. Let's roll. Some shows are going to be stimulating and amazing. Some are going to be head scratchers because that's the live element. You can't plan for live. It's going to happen or not. Did it click or did it not click? But I love that. But that's what networks are looking for. Live, ongoing live television, especially in some sort of sporting presentation. There again, your MMA loyalists are going to roll their eyes. But, to think that these pro wrestlers aren't great athletes is absurd.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows one's ignorance, actually.
And going back to the ladies, I was at Royal Rumble.
I knew you were going to do that.
I was at Royal Rumble in Phoenix. The Tempe. What was it? Yeah, Phoenix. Yeah, Phoenix. And, man, I got to tell you, they are incredible. Their women's battle royal was amazing.
Yeah.
They stole the show.
And then they had a couple individual matches that were amazing as well. And I was looking around. I was like, oh, I'm not the only one feeling it. It's like, because again, the Busted Open guys have told me about this, and I'm listening to it. But part of me is like, come on, for real. And wow, right? I mean, there was a drop off. I think the next match was
Daniel Bryan.
And that one slowed down because it was more of a purist type of a match.
Yeah.
But the ladies are just doing some really, really acrobatic feats. They're strong. They're tough. They are amazing athletes. So I can't say enough about them.
And they're making more money than they've ever made in the history of what they do. No one prior to them, no matter the skill level, how famous they were or were not, are even coming close to earning what these ladies are earning, which is a great tip of the hat. They finally got their just deserves, but the deal is now they got lucky on some really good athletic talent. Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Asuka, there's others, Bayley. They got some really athletic young women. They got on a roll here. Now, here's what I'm hoping, that they are able to capitalize on the talent pool that they have of females, because this is no automatic thing. It's going to come along again. It's don't guarantee, it'll happen again. Well, how do you know it's going to happen again? I don't know that. No, you don't know that. Pardon me. So these ladies have set the bar high. So my point is, in a nutshell, whomever follows them got to bring it.
How about old school wrestling executives? Was it tough for them to accept, like the same way Dana White has a hesitancy on having women's MMA? How was it in the world of pro wrestling?
Well, it was women in pro wrestling. When I got in the business, were treated like farm hands. They were on somebody's plantation or something. Here's the point: when women would come into a territory in those days, and I got in the business in '74, and it was that way then. It was that way prior to that. All even more probably pronounced. When women would come into the territory for a tour, say 2 weeks, in your wrestling territory, if 4 of them were booked on the card, that means 4 men who were regulars in the territory would be sitting at home. If those gentlemen were sitting at home, they were not getting paid. So there would be 2 weeks there that they would not get any paycheck. And it may sound not like a big deal to some people listening, but for others that live paycheck to paycheck, you know how you feel when you miss 2 of them in a row. So they dressed in lousy facilities and bathrooms and hallways, and
Gotcha.
Called every name in the world. It was hideous.
What about through the Attitude Era, even before like this new wave?
Well, it changed a little bit there. Because men were, hopefully, some of us have gotten smarter as we've gotten older, and maybe our parenting will allow us to be able to be educated to respect women or respect others, no matter their skin color, no matter their gender. Just respect people in general. So I think that's helped a little bit. The fact that I told Vince, we're going to change the business here, because I was hiring 10s and very sexy, athletic women. I remember, having a diva tryout and had to tell Kia Stevens, Austin Collins, who I love, my favorite of all time, that you're never going to be a diva. She was 250 pounds. And society says you can't be a diva. Mm-hmm. I didn't name this. Here's a guy. But are you going to be on a Playboy cover? I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's not my deal. Society's done that. We've all done that. So I think that the eyes kept opening. I think that Jenny Finch, a great baseball pitcher at the University of Arizona, had something to do with it, because she was the darling of television every time she pitched in College World Series. That long blonde hair, those big eyes, long legs, fastball, left-hander. Yeah, I watched.
Remember her.
I watched. She turned me on to women's softball. Now I'm living in Oklahoma, and we got one of the best women's softball programs in the world. So they're going to go for they're in the hunt again. They're the number 1 seed in the nation.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
So it's cool. So the women thing is a good idea, but the bar has now been set. So if you're going to get in, you better bring your A game. You better be prepared to sacrifice personal life and be a jock.
I'm an amateur when it comes to spotting all these, angles and stories and everything. But did Ronda exit on a low? Did the sport? In other words, how much of that was real, where she exited and she wasn't too happy with, I guess the fans, not all the fans embraced her. And
yeah.
I think she covets that.
She's a sensitive person. She has feelings. She's got a character. I think basically, I don't know what's real in Memorex sometimes in these entries and exits, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I don't know where the drama ends and the reality begins, quite frankly, because I'm not backstage anymore there. I'm not involved in that thought process. I thought that her exit, as far as on a normal fan state, was fine. She lost in that match, but having a loss is, let's think about it. How many guys we know that you guys have covered, that we talked about, others have talked about, that have a loss? Who doesn't have a goddamn loss?
Right.
True.
So I don't have any issue with her on that. I think she's very emotional. I love that. Her passion is what makes her special. People got to understand that, because, I can't relate. No, because you're not special. Simple.
Do you think the time frame that she came in was perfect for her? In other words, had she stuck around, do you think she was going to get even better and better, or was that kind of just like the perfect stay in WWE?
I think it was a good stay. Perfect, I can't say perfect. I think it was good, obviously. But I think that, if her intentions are, as I have read, that she wants to start a family, there's nothing more important than that. For her to bear children and parent these children, there's nothing she could ever do before or subsequently that's more important than that. So to me, that would be my primary focus. If I didn't have overt financial needs, I assume she does not. She's got an open door. I'm sure WWE will bring her back anytime she's of the mindset for big paydays. So she knows she can be booked. She knows she's got great gigs, and she knows she can have some fun. I think she has fun wrestling those women in that aggressive but yet controlled environment. Mm-hmm. I think she loves it. And she was doing athletic things, man, that the rookies don't do.
She took some bumps too.
Oh yeah. She was just amazing. So I think I don't think we've seen the last of her, but I hope that if that is her goal to have a family, that is her goal. Period. And don't worry about all the other stuff.
Double or Nothing this Saturday here in Las Vegas. If you're coming to town, we're hearing there might be some more tickets released, because this thing sold out months ago, and the doors
fast too.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got no tickets, by the way. Anybody that's going to see me in Vegas,
Oh, disregard my last email.
Yeah,
I ain't got
5 p.m.
I ain't got
Pacific.
ticket one. Period. Swear to God.
5 p.m. Pacific is the start time. United States BR Live, all major cable and satellite providers. This is a pay-per-view. United Kingdom, ITV, box office internationally. Fight TV, you got to check it out. Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho. Go ahead, guys.
So, JR, one of the questions that we get here, in our sport, UFC's the big dog.
Yeah.
You got your Bellator, and you got your PFL, and the people ask, well, what do they bring to the game, right? PFL's got their season, playoffs, Bellator's brought back some tournaments. People are going to ask, with AEW, how are they going to stand out? What is it that they're bringing to the game?
Well, it goes the fact that on day one, AEW's going to have better television than any of those MMA entities you mentioned. I'm a big Scott Coker fan. He's got my
great.
boy Jake Hager there. Scott's a class act. They're chasing, or are they? Maybe they're content to be where they are in the marketplace. Dana's built an amazing brand at UFC. Whether you like the son of a gun or not, I happen to like him. He's ballsy. I like the fact he's brash. He's a great soundbite for you dudes. But I'm a big UFC fan. UFC fan as well. So it's just hard to say that how this is all going to work out, because going on weekly television, 2 hours live prime time on TNT, the network that has the NBA, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. I mean, I'm not knocking the other guys in their clearances, but come on,
TNT's a beast.
It's a beast, man.
Yeah.
It's a deal maker. And if we can go on there in the fall and deliver a product that is fundamentally sound and not eye-rolling, where they're actually making contact, where they're physical, there's things that are happening that are really cool to watch, and the stories are being told, we could get in the hunt. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean you're going to overtake WWE? No. Unless you're smoking peyote or something, that ain't going to happen, man. That's not even realistic. They're the NFL. The XFL is never going to supplant the NFL, but it doesn't have to make money.
Right.
The AEW will never overtake WWE, in my opinion, at least in my lifetime. But they don't even have to make a company very, very valuable in the marketplace. So that's our goal. We got to have a hell of a show Saturday. This is like an expansion team, man. We can't go suck. We got to stick the joint out. We got to go out and play and get this thing done.
You're in the right city, because expansion teams here don't mess around, JR.
That's right.
The Golden Knights went all the way to the Stanley Cup. They came up short, but they went all the way to the but real quick plug here. JR will be on Breakfast with Busted Open during StarCast, and that's Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So here in Las Vegas, 8 a.m. Sorry, JR, we got to get you up early.
No worries.
He'll be joining Dave LaGreca and Mark Henry, fellow WWE Hall of Famer. Go ahead, guys.
You brought up a name, Dana White. Mm-hmm. And when you were describing him, it reminded me a lot of Vince McMahon, some of the things you were saying. If they switched jobs, who would tap out first?
Well,
that's a great question, Goose.
It is an interesting question. It's all going to come back down to each company's individual money supply. I don't know who's got the most cash. Does WWE have more cash than UFC?
Let's say they were even.
Well, they're not. Okay. Well,
I'll
placate your fantasy bros. Look, I seen McMahon take a business that nobody respected, that people peed on, smoky arenas, all fake, this, blah, blah, it's all, and make it mainstream. He took a company that's in a pro wrestling product and took it public. I don't know that Dana's accomplishments, as great as they are, have approached those. So until somebody proves to me that the big Irishman is going to be topped, I'd have to throw my hat in the ring for McMahon.
Yeah, I just happened to be talking to our cousin Ugo, and WWE's actually headed to Lima, Peru, and I was just thinking, man, I mean, they fill out big stadiums when they go international. That's something that the UFC is just starting to do. So I understand exactly what JR is saying. Also, on Saturday, before the pay-per-view, AEW, check it out at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. AEW YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/All Elite Wrestling. They will have a free 1 hour pre-show there. Or you can go to BR Live, and that's BleacherReportLive.com before heading over to the pay-per-view, which starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And all major cable providers are having that pay-per-view available. DirecTV, Dish, all cable listings. So check it out. Also, for more information on AEW, it's AllEliteWrestling.com. We're here with Jim Ross here, and we're talking a little bit of MMA, talking a little bit of pro wrestling, and, of course, he'll be on the call on Saturday night. I can just see your enthusiasm for the event. You're ready to knock one out of the park.
Well, you know,
it's big personally, and I know it's also big for the company that you're proud to be part of.
I've worked myself into a frenzy, and I don't know if I needed to do that, quite frankly. You know, I'll have a peak or valley between here and there, but you know, it's going to be so much fun. But, you know, when you're working on doing a live show with two partners that you've never worked with before, and I don't know that my two partners have had great experience in a national level of this nature. Luckily, I have. And hopefully, if I'm good enough point guard as the play-by-play guy, I can get them the ball enough in their areas where they can make a goal or a basket, and we'll be all right.
This is what I was about to say. You ever see when Tom Brady has a new set of receivers every year, but he's still winning Super Bowls, or at least in it? That's you. You're Tom Brady. So whoever's working on, you know, alongside, as long as they can catch the ball, you know, you guys will be scoring. You guys will be doing well.
I just need a hot Brazilian wife like that, Giselle chick. Or maybe I'll find me a Giselle here in Vegas. I'm sure there's some in the phone book, but no, it's not.
Let us know if she's got any sisters.
Sorry, folks.
All right. We're gonna take a quick break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. We got Jim Ross here in the studio. We got just a couple more minutes with him. If you want to call in, I'm sorry I didn't give out the number earlier. 877-FIGHT-93. 877-344-4893. Let's talk some pro wrestling. Let's talk some MMA. We'll be right back.
They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
All right, we got Jim Ross here in studio. He is a best-selling author, entrepreneur, podcaster. He's got the barbecue sauce going. Lots to talk about here, so we're going to try and blast through it in our last segment. Follow him on Twitter at JR's Barbecue, and on iTunes, check out the podcast Grilling JR. It drops every Thursday. It'll drop tomorrow at 6 a.m. And tomorrow's going to be they're all special ones, JR, but I know this one's really close to you.
Yep.
Tomorrow you'll be talking about the 20-year anniversary of the passing of Owen Hart. Again, it's Grilling JR, courtesy of Westwood One. And on iTunes, I'm telling you, just like I've asked you guys for our show, leave a comment, leave a review. It helps the algorithm. Although these guys are all the way at the top, so I think they know what they're doing. Maybe we should be getting tips from them.
Is that, can you say that on the radio now?
Yeah.
Algorithm?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's George Carlin words?
Yeah.
It might be. Can you talk about the 20-year anniversary? I mean,
yeah,
that was tough for all fans, but I know that in the position that you were in, I mean, you know.
Well, it was a double-edged sword for me because not only was I sitting at ringside when Owen fell to his death, about 20 feet in front of me, I was also the EVP of Talent Relations. So I was in charge of the talent roster. So he was on my roster. He was under my watch, so to speak. So I got to know him very, very well and loved him. And he's one of the very, very few. And you got to really research the recesses of your memory to find anybody in wrestling that was so universally liked. So our show is going to be dropping Thursday morning at 6 a.m. And it will be on the, wherever you get your podcasts. It's everywhere, thank God. Grilling JR and
Google Play, Spotify, iTunes.
All that, Google Play, Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. And then it's going to be how I perceive that whole mess. And Conrad and his staff, I got a 75-page script for the show, just with factual information, things people said during it, subsequently, and so forth, to react on. It was absolutely amazing. It was almost like talking a movie because the scenes are so visual. And even when I wrote my book, Slobberknocker, My Life in Wrestling, I only touched on that topic. And that time I went back and watched my own camera where I had to reveal that Owen had died. And I had never watched any of it again. Now I go back and I watch the show and cringe. It just hurts me to watch it. And so we talk about that event. And it's not a morbid show because there's a lot of humor in it because Owen was a funny guy. One of the great rivers of all time. So we're going to do that. Then in honor of that, then on here in Vegas on Thursday night at 6:30, we're going to do it as a part of StarCast. We're going to do a panel with Mark Henry, who's one of Owen's best friends, his nephew, Harry Smith, Davey Boy Jr., Jerry Lawler, who was at ringside with me, and myself, to talk about that night with a little Q&A at 6:30. I think that's going to be in the Fight app, too. So if that Fight app's a hell of a deal, guys, for your business and
all combat
our bit, all that stuff, because it lets you find a TV home. And sometimes that's a deal maker or breaker, quite frankly, as we all know. But it's the Fight app is going to carry all the events from Las Vegas domestically and internationally. So that's a great place to go to watch all the things we're doing. And somebody says like $2 or $3 a show once you buy the little package for about $50 or something. So check all that out. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that's the way to watch it on your smart device. You got Wi-Fi and a smart device, you're in the business. And even my OS can figure that out.
All right. I wanted to circle back to Ronda Rousey and Brock Lesnar just for a moment here, because they're two big stars in our sport, pay-per-view champions, and in your sport as well. And so this is our daily debate. I want to do our daily debate and include you, JR. So here we go. Hit it, Andre the Giant.
The brothers Garcia seemingly can't agree on anything.
Everybody knows it's duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Whether it's food,
Less filling.
Tastes great.
Less filling.
Tastes great.
gambling,
Always bet on black.
I like red.
Black.
Red.
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy.
or even social media,
Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
the same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
Today's hashtag daily debate question for at MMA Junkie Radio, and of course WWE Hall of Famer and AEW play-by-play broadcaster Jim Ross. Out of these two superstars, whose contribution was greater to the sport in which they crossed over? Brock Lesnar to the UFC or Ronda Rousey to WWE? Goes?
I'm going to go Ronda Rousey. I thought about this over and over, and we were even talking about it before the show. I feel like at that particular time and period, I'm not saying that females wouldn't ever headline a WrestleMania ever, but I don't know if they would have been able to do it without that push that came from Ronda Rousey. And to me, being a kid or watching the first WrestleMania, I would have never thought I would have seen something like that. And it took this long for that to happen. I think a special girl by the name of Ronda Rousey was a big part of that. Brock Lesnar, I love what he did when he came over to MMA. We got a lot of champions. We got a lot of guys that look like that. It was big, but I feel like what Ronda kind of changed things over there. So I went with Ronda Rousey.
All right. What do you think, JR?
I'm going to agree with Goes because Ronda ignited an entire division. She put a lot of women on her in that wagon, and she pulled it. And make no mistake, WWE's blessed, as I mentioned earlier, so many great female personalities, athletes, and so forth. But Ronda brought the attention that they needed to get them noticed so we could see how great they were. So I believe Ronda pulled the wagon on that entire female division and created an environment where we wanted to see more of that led by her. And then they, then all of a sudden they get to WrestleMania this year and 3 women close the show. Unheard of. And
Would they have done it without Ronda? Becky and Charlotte? I mean, Charlotte was a bona fide superstar. Becky was destined to be one, but would they have done it without her?
I wouldn't want to be the booker that had to make that decision. You want Ronda in the equation. So my answer would be to you, no. I don't think they would have, but I would not have done it. She was the straw that stirred the drink, and she brought all this attention outside world. Your world followed her there. She was still a star. We're talking about her today, and she's sitting at home right now because she's that big a star. And she is. So I believe she contributed more of it. What Lesnar brought to MMA was headlines, pay-per-view buy rates.
Yeah.
But did he contribute to the legacy of the heavyweight division? Is he going to be known as one of the great heavyweights of all time? Is he going to be a UFC Hall of Famer? I don't know the answer to those things, but they're still up in the air somewhat.
Yeah.
I think that his days in the UFC, people now know how to beat Brock.
Yeah.
They know how to beat Brock. But boy, when he was younger and they hadn't figured him out yet, he was a sight to behold.
It's unanimous, and I'm going to also go with Ronda Rousey. But I thought, when Brock first came, if he would have had like a run of 2-3 years, I think he could have really, really just, changed the game because the marquee division in the UFC was 205 for many years. Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, Tito Ortiz. But I thought Brock added something to it. And that's something that, of course, we know through boxing and the big guys in pro wrestling. The big guys is what everybody usually comes to see. But guys chopped them down. Frank Mir, submitted them, and Cain Velasquez was able to weather a storm. Ronda Rousey went over there and committed herself for many matches. And, she traveled, and had a lot of different types of experiences there, some highs, some lows, and so it was just more of a consistent figure. So yeah, I would agree with Ronda Rousey going to WWE. However, Junkie Nation, over 1,100 votes came in. 74% said Brock Lesnar to the UFC was greater, and only 26% said Ronda Rousey.
Because they don't like pro wrestling. Some of those MMA guys just don't like pro wrestling, so they're going to endorse anything that might indicate that pro wrestling has some tangible value. It's an entertainment industry. It's like if you're going to get pissed off, if you're an MMA fan and you're going to get pissed off at pro wrestling, then I hope you get also equally pissed off at movies and dramatic television shows. I'm a big SVU guy.
Law and Order?
Oh, yeah. Law and Order, SVU, my thing. I can do this binge watch deal when I'm by myself at home in Oklahoma. I got me a nice little TV outside in my outdoor kitchen. I can park my big ass there. The cooler's right there, man. I'm in business. And I can watch those Mariska Hargitay things all day long. I love that stuff. But so it's a different entity. I don't even know how you compare the two. Mm-hmm. Comparing the two shows your ignorance. Well, it's not real. No shit. Really? Did you know this? Did you know that John Wayne was not a cowboy?
Let me ask you some rapid fire real quick about our sport. I know you said Conor McGregor, you love him on the mic, incredible. What about Colby Covington?
Not as familiar with him, but I think he's got a lot of upside.
Okay.
It depends on the next step for all these cats.
Chael Sonnen, you like his game, his smack talk, and
Chael's very bright.
Mm-hmm.
He's like another cerebral assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Very talented, but he's got an amazing gift of gab and a quick mind, and he might be a little underexposed as well. I'm not sure why he's not in a higher role. He'd be a great Jesse Ventura type character on a UFC broadcast at the fights,
Mm-hmm.
where he can be spontaneous and here on the edge.
Mm-hmm. Ben Askren, you familiar with him?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, Missouri, man.
Yeah,
he's a badass.
Yeah, he's active on Twitter and he's pretty good on the mic as well.
Ben is a smart kid. He's figuring it out. As far as these guys have got to understand, the brand you work for is not going to market your ass as much as you need. Okay, the brand you work for is never going to market you as much as you need. So once you understand the different ways, Chris Cyborg's all over social media. I follow her. She follows me. She's going to be at our big event this week here in Vegas.
Boy, she's intimidating, man.
She's
such a sweetheart, though.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if you get a great little girl hero, that's a girly girl, and what a villain she'd make.
Yeah,
she's like a goddamn Bond villain. So she's going to be at our event this week. So and so she's looking at getting in. But why not? Mm-hmm. So do you lose respect for the fighters that say, I'm going to try this pro wrestling thing? I guarantee you, Jake Hager in Bellator will always be a heel.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have heels. It's a real sport. I know you. Oh yeah, you don't.
He's going down that road for sure.
Yeah. When the Eagles play the Giants in New York, who's the heel? I suggest it might be the Eagles. Just saying.
Let's take this quick call from Houston. Joe from H-Town. What's up, my man?
JR, always great to hear you in studio. We always appreciate you, man. You're one of the best guests that we've ever had in Junkie Nation history, man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm really pumped up for this weekend. AEW, you know, I took a 20-year break from being a fan of wrestling, and I came back to watch WWE, and it's just not my cup of tea anymore, man. These sixth grade humor jokes. I'm not getting. I'm 41 years old, man. I don't want to hear about farts and poop and stuff. You know, I don't want to hear that stuff. So it's kind of a real bad taste in my mouth. And then these guys come around, being the elite, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, you know, Cody. You know, these guys are bringing a different kind of tune to the airwaves, and I got to say, I'm really intrigued, man. I haven't purchased a pay-per-view all last year except one, and that was All In. And my only pay-per-view I'm going to purchase this year so far is Double or Nothing.
Thank you, Joe, for the call. All right, Double or Nothing, Saturday, May 25th, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's pretty cool to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's old school fans being drawn back in.
Well, that's the thing. I believe there's a lot of folks listening to us today that are displaced pro wrestling fans that at one time used to be religiously consumers of the product. Mm-hmm. And they, for whatever reason, normally the product, obviously, maybe lifestyle, whatever, but the product didn't draw them back.
Right.
Maybe they'll give us a try Saturday night.
They will. Tune in Saturday, folks, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. JR on the call, Double or Nothing. It's on BR Live and all major cable and satellite providers. Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, Cody versus Dustin Rhodes. Hangman Page will be, he will have a match. The Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers. Joe, great question. And don't forget, tomorrow, JR's podcast at 6 a.m. You'll love it. Thank you, JR, for stopping by.
Appreciate you
really
guys.
Appreciate you. All right, folks, we'll be right back after this top of the hour break.
If you cross them, they will destroy you. Just ask Three Finger Eddie and Pete the Penguin. Who are they, you ask? My point exactly. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Boy, that was a lot.
This is MMA Junkie Radio.
Boy, that was a lot of fun with JR, Jim Ross. Good job, Goes, lining that one up. And again, on Twitter, at JR's Barbecue. Nice meeting you, Raphael. Thanks for coming by. AEW Wrestling, folks. Get that pay-per-view on Saturday. And follow JR on Twitter. Again, at JR's Barbecue. And check out his podcast, Grilling JR, dropping every Thursday. And he said tomorrow's episode is going to be really, really heavy. It's the 20-year anniversary of the death of Owen Hart. JR was cage side for when that happened, when that tragedy occurred. So as much as it hit the wrestling community, imagine what it must have felt like for him. He said it was one of his close friends, and he was 20 feet away from when Owen fell down. All right, more information on AEW. It's allelitewrestling.com. You'll have all the information. As soon as you get to the front page, you'll see the pre-show starting at 4 p.m. Pacific on youtube.com/allelitewrestling. And then at 5 p.m. Pacific, of course, the pay-per-view, $49.95, DirecTV, Dish Network, all cable and satellite providers. All right, we're ready to go with Ian Heinisch, who got a big win over Shoeface at the UFC Rochester card. Great win for Ian Heinisch, and he joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Ian? How you doing?
Good. How's it going?
Good. Welcome to MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with George and Goes. Congratulations on that win Saturday night, man. That was a solid win over a great competitor in Antonio Carlos Jr. He had a five-fight win streak. He's a well-known name, and so that was really, really clutch for you in your career.
Yeah, definitely. I was going out there. I was trying not to get caught in a bad position, but when it happened, I just had to kind of weather the first round and let him just, give me everything he had and come back in that second and third.
Yeah, in the first round, he was the hurricane. But you're right, you weathered it, man. And then all of a sudden, the tide turned, and that was, that I'm sure it took a lot of wherewithal to hang in there, because he was attacking with striking, he was attacking with the ground. I mean, he just seemed strong as a gorilla, you know what I mean? But I like that you kept your head. I think it was more mental in that first, surviving than physical, and then being able to turn it around. Not too many fighters can do that in a 3-round fight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The Shoeface, he couldn't weather the storm. He got me down right away, and he got my back and kept trying to take me down. I was throwing Granby rolls, trying to get him off my back. His grip was insanely strong, because he's been doing jiu-jitsu for probably 20 years, so all the gi grabbing and stuff. So his grip was unreal. And then second round, I was like, that's all he's got. It's my time now.
And now you got a 5-fight win streak. 3 of them in the UFC, one albeit through Dana White Contender Series, but come on, a lot of talent coming through there.
Right.
So that's really, really solid for you, and now you have that win over a ranked opponent. So you got to be feeling good about the way 2019 is going for you and what could be coming forward. I liked, the Derek Brunson and the fact that you're already looking upwards.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm super grateful coming off the Contender Series with a big knockout, and then second fight in the UFC, I'm co-main event, and now the rankings came out yesterday or today, and I'm number 11. So, the future's bright. I'm excited. I'm grateful for the UFC for giving me these huge opportunities, and, I hope Derek Brunson takes that fight in late August, and we can put on a really spectacular show for the fans, and, I'm going to get back to my knocking out ways, and I'm excited.
Ian, this might sound silly, but you're actually going to be a better fighter going forward because of that first round, because Antonio Carlos Jr. was taking it to you. I think the experience that one can get in a fight like that and get the win, because there's that saying, win or learn. You were able to learn and still win, you know what I mean? But that first round, I think is gonna follow you later in your career. You gained a lot in many ways, not just from that W that shows up in the column on the left.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're absolutely right with surviving some adversity and, getting more octagon time, cage time. That's always beneficial for the future, getting that experience, more calm in there. you can train hours every day, but there's nothing like being in there full speed with the lights on, throwing at each other. It just takes time to get used to that. And I feel like I'm growing. I still have a lot to grow, and I'm going to get back in the gym soon after a little bit of healing, and then I'll be ready to go. I hope Brunson takes that fight, like I said.
When you're saying healing, is it just normal wear and tear, bumps and bruises from a fight, or is there any serious concerns?
Yeah, no, it's just bumps and bruises. As any fighter knows, you're never even really 100% when you get in that cage. Camp is so strenuous on the body, especially when I have teammates like I do, like Anthony Smith getting ready to fight next weekend, as one of my main training partners, and Dustin Jacoby, Chris Camozzi, all these guys, James Krause, Zach Cummings, off his impressive win.
Yes, shout out to him.
So, your body's super beat up, and then a 3-round fight, you're just a little beat up, and you need to not only heal your body, but your mind.
Yeah, Zach had
refreshed and ready to get back at it.
Zach had a similar night like yourself. Trevin was really, really tough early on, but that was a huge win for Zach Cummings. We were talking about that earlier in the week as well. Our guest here, Ian Heinisch, 13-1 overall, debuting in the USA Today Sports and MMA Junkie rankings as well. Looking to maybe fight Derek Brunson later this summer. That's a great call out. Derek also coming off a win. All right, let me turn it over to the co-host here. Goes, what do you have for Ian Heinisch?
Ian, I know the fight was a lot of fun to watch on our end, and I know it was super competitive. At the end of the night, are you able to turn the page, or some of the news of Shoeface kind of complaining of fouls and stuff like that? Does that bother you, or have you been able to turn the page from that fight and just move on?
Yeah, no, I mean, he was just breaking mentally. We had an accidental headbutt, and he wants to stop the fight, and it's just like, man, we're fighting. Like, the ref didn't see it. We're gonna keep fighting. Like, you're the one who needs me in the nuts. So he can complain about whatever he wants. He was breaking mentally. When you're breaking, you start letting little things like that affect you. Like Cesar Ferreira, we headbutted hard a few times, and none of us said anything. If the ref doesn't see it, I'm not going to try to wave him down and let him know. I'm just going to keep fighting, and, whatever he wants to believe. I was there for a mission, and a little headbutt is not going to, stop me. So I'm going to keep moving forward until the ref actually pulls me off. So, I mean, that's on him. That's mental things, and if he wants to find excuses, that's on him. I'm happy with my performance and what happened.
I like how you broke it down mentally, and you brought that up for yourself and for him. And I thought about that because I was reading about you and having a movie, a book about your early parts of your life, and all that seems like a lot that you'd have to prepare yourself mentally to get through. Can you talk a little bit about that and about the possibility of the movie and the book and stuff?
Yeah, if people out there listening don't know, I've been through a lot of adversity. I was very good in athletics, but I had a very addictive personality. Started with Adderall, Xanax, drinking, cocaine, ecstasy. I pretty much went through everything. I started selling. I got caught. I posted bail. I fled the country. I was out the country for 5 years. I got caught trafficking in Spain, did some time there, came out and pursued my dream, and now I'm 13-1 and ranked number 11 in the world. But this whole thing I went through, this whole process, gave me such a strong mentality, a strong mindset, that I am able to lose around and have someone hang on my back and not let it faze me at all, because I've been through adversity my whole life, and I know how to bounce back, and I feel like I'm one of the most mentally strong guys in the UFC.
Tell me about when you did have Antonio Carlos Jr., hanging on with the strong grip, and we know he's a beast for a lot of people, even well-seasoned grapplers. Who in your camp was able to give you those types of looks so that this didn't come as a surprise and you were able to remain calm and not get submitted like many have to Shoeface?
Yeah, a lot of people they think once you get there, it's automatically over. I've always been very good at getting people off my back in wrestling, so I started with that base, and then, for this training camp, we just threw a lot of long, lanky black belts on my back, and people who had really good back control in the gym. Anthony Smith, very underrated back control and black belt, had him on my back. Just some jiu-jitsu guys that were very good black belts that specialize in back takes and rear naked chokes, and and I got really used to it. I got comfortable there. I'm not letting that faze me, and so I knew if I had to weather it, it would be fine. Once we get back to our feet, he's a little tired now, and it's a whole different fight.
When did you notice that the tide was turning? Was it right after round one, or was there a little bit of moments in round two where you still knew this thing could go either way?
Yeah, I mean, after the round one, he kind of got up slow in the second, going to his stool. I kind of seen it there a little bit, and then I just kind of felt him fading. It's just like, I don't know if there's an exact moment in this fight that I can think of, but just slowly felt him fading. And don't get me wrong, he gave everything in that third round. It could have went either way because, he took me down. I got up. I took him down. He swept me. I swept him again. So, I mean, it was a lot of scrambling. And you can just feel in those scrambles when someone's just, starts to shut down. And I felt that a few times. And, but he pushed to the very end, and I had to turn it on the whole time. And we were both tired out there, but I was mentally able to just keep pushing.
Have your friends and family already thanked you for the money you made them? Gambling's big in the sport, Ian. You were an underdog, but anybody that believed probably got a nice payday.
Yeah. I mean, I had a few friends, and just even after the fight, I was walking down, shaking people's hands like, you owe me so much money, and and I hope I continue to win people money because I want to be that underdog. I want to fight better fighters. I want to be, on paper, not the better fighter, and I want to go in there and keep shocking the world until I get that belt. My goal is to be top 5 by this year.
Yeah, we have our fight analyst, Dan Tom. We were going over the card on this past Friday, and he said, hey, the dog is live here, he pointed to you. He pointed to a few other fighters that Zach, Felicia, that didn't mean that we're going to win. It just meant he felt like the odds should be a little bit closer than what we were seeing. He was almost a 2.5 favorite here in Las Vegas, so it was a little bit of a topic. As the fights went in, a little bit of money started coming in on you. But either way, somebody played you straight or played you in a par, and they did well. So especially because you were later in the card, you know what I mean? So that's when all the big payouts start either happening or you've already been dead, prior to that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love being the underdog. It gives me motivation, so I'll take it.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for appearing on our show here. Congrats on the win. Hopefully you heal up quickly. Hopefully, I really like the Brunson matchup. I think that's solid for both of you. I like the timing of it. August, September, there's some big cards coming, and maybe that'll even give you a chance to get one more in 2019 and go for 3-0, and then make 2020 the year of a title run.
Yeah, honestly, I would love to make it 4-0 this year. I hope I can get one in August and one in November or December. That would be my ideal. And, if Jacare needs a fight too, and he's coming off a loss, if he thinks I'll be a tune-up fight, I'm ready. So, let him know.
Definitely.
All right.
Thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, and congrats on the win. Thank you. Okay, take care. We'll see you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, that is Ian Heinisch. Shout out to Goes for lining that one up. The Hurricane. That was a tough fight for him, but solid win. Now he's 13-1 overall, riding a 5-fight win streak. These win streaks, especially in the UFC, are not easy to come by. 30 years of age. Anybody that thought, is he tall enough? I don't know, because he's not one of the bigger guys. He's like 5'11". A lot of these middleweights go 6'3" up to 6'4", and Shoeface had a 7-inch reach advantage. He was at 79, and Ian was at 72. Man, I'm telling you, Shoeface is no joke. He's tough. He's a tough fighter. All right, we're going to take a quick break. You are listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. Stay close, and we'll be right back. We still have another interview headed your way and some news to discuss. Yves Edwards will join us from PFL.
Here we go with more verbal sparring. Take it away, ladies.
Sunday's the fastest day of the year, and SiriusXM has all of the racing action starting at 8 Eastern. Hear the Grand Prix of Monaco on Dan Patrick Radio. Then at 11 Eastern, it's the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indy 500. Hear that race on Mad Dog Sports Radio. The day wraps up with the Thunder from Down Under. Just kidding. The Thunder of NASCAR. And the Coca-Cola 600 on NASCAR Radio. Goes was getting excited there when I said the Thunder.
No, I wasn't.
Down Under. Yeah, you were.
No, I wasn't. Whoa.
Was that exciting?
No, it wasn't.
All right. I'm barely catching my breath there after talking to the legend, JR.
My brain shut off.
Ian Heinisch, of course, who had a huge win at UFC Rochester, 13-1 overall. He's got a pretty incredible story that I want to find out more about. I knew about the demons. I didn't know about the whole thing in Spain, though.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
Wow, that's one hell of a comeback for him. Yeah.
Andre was having to take notes throughout. You have carpal
Still
tunnel
on
now?
Jim Ross high here, guys.
Yeah. All right. Listen, yesterday we had Dustin Poirier on the show, and since then, well, Khabib had already warmed up to fighting in September in Abu Dhabi. I think September 7th or 8th. There's a rumored card out there. But Khabib had also said that he was going to stand with his soldiers, the guys that got suspended for a year. Remember, on October 6th of 2018, a big fight broke out after the main event with Conor McGregor and Khabib and Dylan Dennis and a few other guys from Khabib's camp. Remember that thing that spilled over? That's the fight I'm talking about. And so the Nevada State Athletic Commission said, Conor McGregor, 3 months. Was it 3 or 6?
I believe it was 6.
Yeah, it wasn't much. Khabib, 9. And the other two guys, a year. Khabib said, come on. He said, I'm standing with my guys. I'm not fighting till October 6th of 2019. More than likely throw me on the November card. But once he started warming up to September, I was like, well, maybe he's figuring out that, hey, the UFC needs him, and maybe the UFC is actually leaning on him. And, of course, Poirier has still been able to – still couldn't give us much as far as, like, why this thing isn't cemented. I mean, he will be ready to fight in September. I think everyone wants that fight to happen. I think it would be huge. Look, Poirier wasn't excited about it, but he just wants to fight Khabib. He wants to unify the belts. However, today, I guess the two teammates, their suspension was, I guess,
it was reduced by 30 days.
Correct. Yeah.
Why?
Why? I don't know. I that was bizarre, but I'm not. I don't care at this point because I don't even know if they should have gotten the year. If one guy was going to get 9 months and he jumped out and started it, then just match the 9 months.
It's just not a good look.
I didn't see what he did that was so much greater than he needed the additional 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, that's got to be a final hurdle, right?
I would imagine.
Abu Dhabi's got to be a lock at this point. All right. Here's Dustin Poirier yesterday talking about Khabib. We're going to go back to back. Let's play them both, Andre, these two audio files.
I can beat anybody in the world. Khabib's skin's going up next. I can beat anybody in the world. I just need to put the work in and show up in the moment and ready to perform, and I can beat anybody. It's prestigious to be the first person to give Khabib that L. So I'm excited for the opportunity, and like I said, going into the Max fight, I honor this. Me being the interim champ, I've said it before, it's a piece of the world title. I understand that. We have to unify the belts. But I accept the challenges that come along with the belt and with the competition that's on the horizon with this. I love that. I love having a target on my back. I love these hungry fighters. I love these, guys like Khabib who haven't been beaten and putting on clinics on the best fighters in the world. That's what motivates me too, to get up and push myself as hard as I can and be the best I can, is those kind of challenges.
Look, there's a saying that I use on this show, hey, beating so-and-so is a nice skin on the wall. I don't want anyone to think that Dustin Poirier is going Hannibal Lecter on us here, talking about someone's skins are going up next, I think is what he said, without knowing how the question was pitched to him. But, yeah, he said it with respect. Dustin's not one of them dudes that talks trash. As you can see, his trash talking is done with his fists, his knees, his kicks. He's an awesome dude, but he does not seem intimidated. He's ready to go. And I think we're all ready to go now that the suspension's been reduced from the teammates. I think even Khabib knows, okay, I stood with my guys, technically,
We've heard fighters react to that question differently. Some say, I don't care who's at the top. when I get there. I just want the belt. I thought it was super cool and super gangster of him to want that to be Khabib up there, to give him his first L.
Yeah.
That to me like separates people in mixed martial arts.
If he beats Khabib, is he the greatest lightweight ever, Dustin Poirier? Or would you need title defense? I mean, yesterday I kind of just glossed over that
talks
question when I said, wow, have you seen who you've beaten? Let me rephrase that. Anthony Pettis is a former WEC and UFC champion. Eddie Alvarez is a former Bellator and UFC champion. Then we had
what do you do with Max Holloway?
Justin Gaethje was a former WSOF champion, and he's a title contender in the UFC. And I think Jim Miller, I forget who his other win was. I mean, Jim Miller's got 30 fights in the UFC. He's won at least 3 out of every 4 along the way, so he's a pretty tough out. He's on an incredible run, and of course, Max Holloway is the current
UFC. I know.
I keep saying WWE. He's a current UFC featherweight champion. He's beaten him twice now, but that's something else.
You gonna put that cup up on eBay?
No, I'm all right.
What do you do with Max Holloway though? How do you treat those wins? If you're talking light, you're only counting one, right? If you're talking lightweight.
Yeah, no, those are respectable wins.
It'd be interesting. I think the way that he beat Khabib would play a big role in that. A lot of people would say if he went out and just starched him, I don't know that would have the value. If maybe they went 5 rounds and he beat him over 5 rounds, to me that might actually mean more.
Look, I don't want to shit on Errol Spence because I think he's one of the best top 3 fighters or boxers.
Canada, huh?
No, all I'm going to say is when he beat Mikey Garcia, they were both undefeated. It was a clear guy that went up to 47. You're talking about a solid 147 welterweight division.
They're in different worlds.
In boxing, and Mikey Garcia's fought at 130. I felt like you could definitely tell the size difference. But with Max and Dustin, I mean, Max was towering over Dustin. For one, he was taller, but it was a 10-pound difference, and so I still think that in the UFC, a lot of those, when you're a little closer to 10 pounds, I think you can still hold the win still holds some weight. With Mikey Garcia, who's already been moving up, I don't know. I mean, it was a solid win, but you could just tell one guy was just as talented, skill-wise, just a bigger dude. Anyway, I think we've talked enough combat sports here, and I'm throwing another one into the
boxing. Well, some pretty big news in boxing.
What's that?
Pacquiao.
Oh yeah,
Thurman.
Official, right?
Yeah, we have boxing
Keith
here too at
Keith
Mandalay
Thurman's
Bay.
undefeated. He's a good fighter, man.
It's tough.
Yeah. All right, we got to take another break here because we got Yves Edwards coming up. We're going to talk a little bit of PFL. But, yeah, folks, I mean, I think you can bank it. I think if you want to know when Poirier and Khabib are fighting, it's going to be UFC 242, I believe it's called. And I think it's on September 7th. It's a Saturday before the kickoff of the NFL season in September. I think the UFC's already said they're going to Abu Dhabi on the date. They just haven't said what the main event is, but that's a strong rumor going around. Anyway, we'll be right back after this commercial. Don't touch that dial.
Hey, boys.
All right, let's talk some PFL, the Professional Fighters League. Man, it was really, really cool. I was to download. $99 is not much. PFL and UFC action. Just not really an. All right, let's talk to Yves Edwards, who's going to be on the broadcast team for PFL 2019 Week 2. What's up, Yves? How are you?
I am awesome. This George.
Yes. How you doing, my man?
I can never tell your voices apart.
Really?
Since I learned you guys were brothers, it's hard for me to tell your voices apart now.
How offended were you when you found out that he had found out after 13 years that you and I were brothers?
Well,
that would be like us going, wait, Yves, you fought back in the day?
Yeah, I guess it's just pretty close. All right.
He has no comeback because he doesn't know who was talking right now.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't know who to tell the F off.
Awesome,
All right, Yves. We were talking to Ray Sefo yesterday, and to me, I feel like the marquee classes weight classes are featherweight and lightweight. No disrespect to the other ones. I know there's some killers in all of the the heavyweights and light heavyweights and all that stuff. But when we do the rankings, on MMA Junkie, we rank all of the fighters. And where we've been able to plug in some WSOF and now PFL fighters have been at lightweight and featherweight. And that's because there's really, really solid fighters with really, really good records and accomplishments, and they've been able to test themselves against other good fighters who have either come from other promotions or have also been homegrown. Have you developed a favorite weight class yet, Yves, from your time there with PFL, or are you still figuring that out here now that we're beginning season 2?
I have picked my favorite weight class for the PFL. I love them all. Especially, I love lightweights. I'm a lightweight alumni, so I gotta love the lightweights. I always got a lot of love for them. Featherweights are fun. These two weight classes are the most fun, the fastest, a lot of skill. Right now, I'm just really, really into the lightweights because, I was former lightweight. That's really it. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna tell you what my favorite weight class is, though. I'm not gonna tell you that.
All right. Well, at least we know the fact that you're as excited as we are for, both of these divisions bring back their champions, and they got some fresh talent in there. They got some returning talent in there. They got some veterans in there. So what do you think these weight classes, what do you think these guys learned from season 1? I got to imagine close to the top has got to be managing your health. You just now had an off season to rest up, heal up, but now it's a brutal schedule to the end of the year.
It is. It's a little more relaxed than last season. We have one more little break in there, but I believe that was the administration recognizing that. 5 fights in 6 months is a lot. So we have an extra month in there now. You get a little more time to rest. But yeah, man, managing your health, staying on diet, it's hard for a lot of young fighters. Because even when you're signed to a contract and you have 4 fights over the course of 18 months, that's still not a lot. These guys are fighting 4 or 5 times a year if they make it to the finals, and that's in 7 months. It's very different. As a fighter, you try to stay in shape. You get these short notice calls sometimes because you're always in the gym. But with a schedule like the PFL, guys know that they have to go hard. It's like an NFL schedule or an NBA schedule. You have to go hard for this time frame of the year, and then you get this time off to rest, relax, enjoy the fruits of your labor. But right now it's go time, and I think everybody recognizes that. All the guys that are returning recognize that, and some of the guys who are around them as teammates last year, they've seen how that stands. So I think a lot of these guys, the guys that understand that, are going to do the best this season.
Mm-hmm. Chris Wade was one of the fighters who had one of the rougher endings in 2018, and now in his first fight in 2019, he's going to be one of the hometown guys. Have you been able to talk to him? And along with him, some of the guys that came up just a little short, like a Steven Seiler, have the fighters been able to let go of that and turn the page? Just because, you know, you get so close to such a big payout, man, that one's got to be a tough one to swallow.
You know, I agree, especially with that $1 million payout being at the other end. I think, though, a lot of those guys use that for motivation, you know, especially Chris. And it's not really the money. That's the other part that I love about a lot of these guys. The pride and the pride and the desire you have as a fighter. Like a guy like Chris Wade, you ask him about the fight last year with Nathan Schultz. You know, he felt he won the fight. He landed more shots. He was upset about it, about the split decision going the other way. But when you talk to him about it, he doesn't mention the money at all. I asked him because, you know, he would still have to fight in the finals and then beat Rashid. But he was just more upset about the fight, you know. We talked to Rashid Magomedov, asked him about fighting Nathan Schultz. And I asked him if he would like to do that again. And Rashid said to me that, yeah. And I asked him, would you like to do it in the finals? I asked him, would you like to fight Nathan Schultz again or fight for the $1 million? And his answer was to fight Nathan, you know. That's more important. And that's a real fighter to me. I mean, the money, yes, you got to be smart. You want to make money. You want to live more comfortably. But I love the fight spirit in these guys, man.
Yves Edwards is our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio, long-time MMA lightweight veteran, fought in all of the best leagues, including the UFC. Back in the day, highly noted as the top lightweight of his time. Now doing some broadcasting along with Randy Couture and Sean O'Connell there on ESPN for the Professional Fighters League. Tomorrow night, Professional Fighter League starts at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on ESPN2. Then they move over to ESPN Plus at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. All right, Goes, what do you have for Yves Edwards?
You know, he said something that stood out right now, and you were saying that that's how you recognize a real fighter. And I think that's insane that somebody can not look at that money and just be able to be so focused like that, because a lot of people in their everyday lives couldn't do something like that. And it brings me to something that Dustin Poirier said on our show yesterday, and it was that he didn't, for him, like some fighters don't care who's at the top when they get there. For him, he needed Khabib Nurmagomedov to be there because he wanted to give him that L. And I was telling George, 20 minutes ago, I go, to me, that's like what separates. There's credit to anybody that goes into that cage, but there's different levels of fighter. And to me, somebody that says something like that is like a true fighter. So I'm going to tie all that over here to this, Yves. And it's when you talk to these people, when you're doing your pre-fight interviews, all that stuff, when you first get to know them, can you tell who's who right away? Do you have any tricks to figure that out?
First off, I gotta say, much love to Dustin. That is pure thug jitsu right there, and that's why he reps thug jitsu and he steps into the octagon, because it's about fighting the best guy, getting the guy who's going to get the best out of you. And to answer your question, yes, but I can't tell you what it is. It's, you know, that thing when you hang out with somebody for the first time and you get a good vibe off of them? Mm-hmm. It's like that. It's kind of like, I'm an old school nerd, you know, like Carlos Newton was one of the guys I looked up to coming up, and he turned me on to Dragon Ball Z, and it's kind of like that. It's kind of like you could feel their power level. You could feel who's real in this fight game, you know what I mean? When you're a real fighter, when you're around them, it's just the way they carry themselves, the way they talk, the way they believe in things, the way they talk about the fight game. You just know who is who, and it's a combination of all those things that you put together, and you can tell right away. Some guys can trick you, though. You know, some guys do have the ability to trick you and make you think they are who they aren't, but only because they have a little bit of experience with the fight. But it's very, very hard for that to happen. Especially, I mean, I'm talking about when you're young, that can happen. But as you get older, you start to read those guys, or right away, you just don't have the same vibe of somebody that's pure. Somebody like a Rashid, somebody like a Dustin, somebody like a Robbie Lawler, somebody like a Joe Schilling. You know, those guys, you know they're real from the moment you meet them. And yeah, there's no specific thing. It's just that vibe.
I'm glad you brought up Carlos Newton's name, because the last couple days, George and I have been talking about the Hall of Fame, primarily the UFC Hall of Fame, but we wish that there was just an independent Hall of Fame for mixed martial arts, because the way the sport started was a little different than other sports, and there's just kind of different eras to it, and guys like Carlos Newton do need to be respected. The newer generation does need to know about certain people like that. So my question to you is, what has to happen for there to be a independent, real MMA Hall of Fame? And looking at the PFL roster right now, everybody that's gone through the PFL, is there one guy you can point to say that guy would be a future Hall of Famer?
I could say, dude, were we talking about PFL or World Series all the way through? Because you said looking back, and I'm thinking there's only one season. But yeah, I would say with the PFL, I would go with Sean O'Connell for sure.
And if you went all the way back to World Series, I think I know this answer.
If I went all the way back to World Series, I would say Gaethje.
Yeah. And what has to happen for there to be a real mixed martial arts Hall of Fame?
Some people won't like this, but I think the fighters have to come together and create something that belongs to them, that belongs to, the guys that are the product, that belongs to the blood, sweat, and tears inside all these cages. Without them being unified, without the fighters having some type of autonomy, then this is always going to be a product for other people to sell.
If you were the name that got thrown out there to go into the Hall of Fame, who would you want to induct you? You didn't know we were going to get this deep, huh?
No. Man, you're making me feel this in my heart now. Who would I want to induct me? That's so hard to say. It's really hard to say. I don't know. Everybody would say Bruce Lee, right? No. I really don't know. I mean, there's too many guys that I have so much respect for. Like Boss is one guy that comes to mind. Carlos Newton is a guy that comes to mind. Shoot, man, it's so hard to say. Like, there's too many.
Start thinking about it, because one day you're going to be in. It's inevitable, Eve. You're one of the great ones, man.
You know what? Thank you, George. Thank you. I really appreciate that, man. And when you say that, it would be one of two guys. When I think about it, because being a part of it, it's people you know, people you love. It would have to be Robbie or Dustin.
Cool. All right.
It'd have to be one of those two guys.
All right. Eve, tell me real quick. This, when I looked up and down the card, we got Lance Palmer versus Alex Gilpin at the top. You got guys like Andre Harrison, Chris Wade, Rashid Magomedov. Like, they're all kind of being tested, or they're all kind of testing like a newer fighter. Out of the newer fighters, which one's a silent assassin that we need to keep an eye on, that you think's gonna, have a good regular season and for sure make it into the playoffs and possibly make noise?
Whew, okay. There are two guys that fall in that category, and I think it's the winner of this fight is the guy that we should really keep an eye on as a dark horse, and that's the Jeremy Kennedy, Luis Rafael Lorenzino fight.
Okay.
Lorenzino is 26 years old. He has 34 fights.
Damn.
That's like exactly, and he's 33-1. Fought most of, if not all of his fights in Brazil. Then we got Jeremy Kennedy. He's 13-1, one loss in the UFC, and he was 3-1 in the UFC.
I know.
But he's one of those guys who has a winning record but left for other opportunities. This is the fight that I'm really curious to see who comes out of that on top, because that guy is going to be the threat. He's going to establish himself as a threat this season.
And by the way, at the top of the bill, I think Alex Gilpin's going to be a tough customer. I still think Lance Palmer is going to win. But when we were researching Alex Gilpin, he has skills on the ground. He has skills on the feet, and it looks like he can match some of that strength that Palmer brings to the table. So I'm really, really excited for not only the main event, but of course just all 12 fights with lightweights and featherweights, because there's a lot of skill over there at the PFL, and now on ESPN. That's really, really cool.
That's the fight I'm looking forward to. Also, Lance Palmer, Alex Gilpin, because of the wrestling thing. I feel like Lance has a better wrestling pedigree, but Gilpin, I think his submission game is just a little bit better. And understanding wrestling like he does, is he going to, be able to put himself in some position sometimes? Wrestlers, the first time you go with them, and I know Lance has been in the game for a long time, he knows a lot. But the first time you go with a wrestler as a jiu-jitsu player, you can catch them because they don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like I have this concept in my mind of Alex understanding wrestling well enough to find little holes in a high-level wrestler's game? And that's what I want to see how that plays out.
Yves, I want to thank you very much for stopping by on the show. We love doing this. Hopefully we can do it again in 2 weeks. Quick little preview of the fight card, on the night before. But as always, thanks for your time, man. It's always great talking to you, chopping it up no matter what the subject.
It's always good to talk to you guys. I'm sorry, every time we talk, I talk to I'm talking to my friends. I forget we're doing a radio thing.
Well, the feeling's mutual, my man. Go break a leg there tomorrow, and thanks again for your time.
All right, Slayer. You guys take care.
All right, take care. We'll see you. That is Yves Edwards on Twitter at the Jitsu Master, one of the best to ever do it. All right, folks, we're going to take we still got one more break, or are we good, Andre?
Did we double?
We got one more.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's
Cool.
do that one real fast. When we come back, we got some sound bites from an interview that Conor McGregor did. Look, if he's talking, I'm listening, but there are times where sometimes I got to give him the eye roll. But either way, it's entertainment, so stick with us. We'll be right back here on Fight Nation, Channel 156.
is how we do
Do you have issues with the song? This song, do you have issues with it?
Their
I'm starting
mantles
to.
are covered with participation awards. They have boxes of gold stars that they purchase themselves. They are the legends and demand your respect. Here are George and Goes.
All right, I think it's okay to say this. I know it came across on an email, but they're asking us to promote, and I think it's awesome. The free listening period on SiriusXM, right? It's going on from now until June 4th. So the way it works is if you listen on SiriusXM, you have an account, let your friends and family know that there's a free listening period right now until June 4th, and tell them, hey, look, check out 156, man. They talk fights all day, boxing, pro wrestling. Tell them about First Wave, Channel 33, that's, you know, like new wave and 80s music. Tell them about Channel fucking 86, the NBA channel, 88, the NFL channel. I can go on all day. There's some really, really quality programming. Our friends at VSiN, Channel 204, they talk gambling all day. We met some of those guys at a recent workshop. Really, really cool dudes over there. But you'll get them to listen and realize that they've been missing out. And then, of course, they can go over to SiriusXM.us/Fight Nation SXM, and they can figure out, okay, what kind of account would I like? Because you can, there's different packages available to meet your needs. But I'm telling you, a lot of people that listen on Sirius, if I ask them about Apple Music or Pandora, they're like, what do I need that for? I got everything I need right here. It's not like I'm in my car 24/7.
Still don't even really
and
know
even the
Pandora.
ones that are, like the truck drivers, the ones that are, they love themselves some SiriusXM.
I think they're together now, right?
Tell your family and friends about the free listening period right now. And most cars that have been made in the last 10 years, they have the capability to right away just go to that certain tab or knob or whatever on your car, and boom, you just start listening.
You'll get hooked.
All right. Let's go through a couple of these Conor McGregor cuts. He was on with Tony Robbins recently, and there's some ridiculousness, and then there's some interesting stuff here. First, let's start with Conor McGregor on Floyd Mayweather. This is cut number 1.
The competitive aspect of it, a new sport, the greatest of all time under that rule set. Again, more external doubt. I love it. Give it to me. Give me all that doubt. Tell me I can't do something. Tell me I'm not gonna cross over and make that jump into a completely new sport. Not only against some random guy,
but
against the
best.
damn best.
Yes.
So it was just my competitive nature. Of course, the financial benefits and the notoriety was great.
Sure.
And to
But how did you get him to do it? Because it was your idea, right?
No, we just continued to poke at it. It just happened, It happened naturally. I went in on his terms. I fought him under his rules. Originally, the promise was, I'll fight him his game. He fights me my game.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of him since. I haven't heard from him since. So we'll see what happens.
You can never, ever take that away from him. He did do that, and I
made
thought
a lot
that
of
was
money.
incredibly ballsy to do.
The only problem I had was him, Brendan Schaub, Dana White, and countless others who actually thought he had a chance. And look, what can you do? You're going to get asked that question. I still think there's a tap dance answer where you don't put yourself out there, especially because
anything can
Brendan's
happen, is what you
competed,
say.
and Dana, at that point, then you got a chance. Andre's got a chance. I got a chance. You know what I mean? He didn't have a chance. All right. Floyd Mayweather is far superior to just most boxers alone, let alone someone who's never had a boxing match. But look, we already that happened back in 2017. Let's keep going here. It was an interesting article. Here's another take. This is McGregor on retirement.
I'm just here waiting to continue to go and see where we can get with this situation with the UFC, and see can we get this fight again, and let's go again. And that's where my
because you wrote the other day on Twitter, it was a couple days ago that you were retiring, and so bottom line is you're retiring unless they give you your terms. Is that what it is?
Yes, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Hey, look, he can dictate his terms. He's pretty popular. I know the UFC's in a whole different scheme right now with pay-per-view buys. Supposedly, they still want to sell pay-per-views for
They still want to be
ESPN
popular.
Plus.
They still want the sport to grow.
Right, he can move a needle. There's a financial benefit that can be met, and look, as long as the UFC is growing, which they are under ESPN, that means McGregor he can't be fighting for less. That's for sure. I don't know what happened with Brock Lesnar, but they can't be fighting for less. As long as he's within reason, he should go out there and fight. I don't think he's going to get Khabib right away. I don't think he deserves Khabib right away, but he deserves to be on a big card somewhere, going out there and just being what he is, and that's pretty damn unique. He's an entertainer, and he's one hell of a fighter. He does not back down from anyone. He'll go out there, win or lose, he'll give you his best. Last one. This is, if we have time, we might do one more. This is his play-by-play of how the chaos went down after the Khabib fight, post-fight. Listen to this version.
The fight was done. The match was done. He climbed over the fence and jumped into the crowd to make a bit of noise. But as soon as he jumped into the crowd, he cowered away. Yeah. I like to call it scurried away because they're little rats they are. You know, be honest. He scurried away. And I give my respect. Congrats, you won the match. Let's see what happens next time. I'm confident we'll get it again. Let's go again. Humble in defeat. I am humble in victory or defeat. No matter what. It's a sport at the end of the day. A gruesome sport, but it's a sport. So I respected. I was defeated on the night. He jumped in and caused this chaos and went to attack. But really, it was just...
What was he trying to do?
I don't know exactly. He was trying to just hide away when he jumped in, so he didn't really do anything. But I saw this take place. I got up off the ground and said, okay, now I'm back in the mix. Jumped on top of the cage. As I jumped on top of the cage, his brother came sprinting across and jumped up on top of the cage also to climb in and help him and join the fight. I seen him there. It was like a Christmas present. He was right there. I just smacked him right in the eye socket. And we started fighting on top of the cage. It got broken up. We ended up in the cage then. He was trying to get past the security, and I was just kind of watching everything. So I'm very self-defense minded. I have been through growing up, and I know where my entrances and my exits are. I'm very aware of my surroundings.
All right. Most of that made sense with the exception of Khabib did jump like an eagle. He tried to land on Dylan Dennis, but after that he was held back. It's not like he ran away. Look, the toughest guy in the arena other than him was Conor McGregor, so he wasn't running away from anybody, all right? And then he's right, though. Conor McGregor did smack. I think his name was Zubair Turkinov or something like that. Daniel Cormier told us that he was getting teased at the AKA gym. He did have a black eye, so he got his licks in even though he got jumped. And look, Conor McGregor deserves big fights no matter what. He just doesn't deserve the rematch. We don't have time to play this last clip, but we'll do a little bit more of that tomorrow. So
30.
That's courtesy of Tony Robbins' show where Conor McGregor was a guest. All right, we got to get on out of here. Shout out again to Goes for lining up the Jim Ross in-studio interview. That was a ton of fun. Don't forget, AEW is this weekend. It's a pay-per-view. Catch it on BR Live and across all cable and satellite listings. Also, thanks to Ian Heinisch. Again, shout out to Goes and Yves Edwards. That was me. We're out of here, folks. For Andre the Giant and Goes, I'm George. Have a nice evening. Go out there and be a champion.